For the past few weeks, I'll be honest, I've just been whipping it out and blowing it in your face. And strangely, you keep coming back for more, which I enjoy. Subscribe to the channel. But today, there will be no whipping out and blowing it in faces because I need you to follow along with me as to how we got to this point. Because several examples over the course of maybe the past 2 years, we've seen people really risk their livelihoods and their jobs and their financial security all for the glamour of social media and the opinions of people who use grok to verify information online. And that's a really troubling thing to see because when you have a job that brings in a lot of lucrative money, you don't want to lose it by trying to be someone who's doing the right thing or trying to be informative online, especially when you're in the job of health, a doctor, a nurse, a practitioner, or in this case, a pathologist. Probably said that wrong, but it doesn't really matter. And you have to fall in the category of you better make sure that what you're doing doesn't violate HIPAA. And 10 times out of 10, when somebody in the medical field is getting on social media talking about how they lost their job, it's about HIPAA. And you've in the past seen random people who for some reason think that they're criminal journalists who could figure out or solve mysteries that were already solved, and they want to have the introspective, retrospective conversation, hiding dead kids' bodies in images behind $2 paywalls, thinking that you could have a conversation about that.
What about them being shown in the courtroom during the trial?
Oh my
How many
God!
channels, the coverage that I was going to do. I can see how in what I wrote, it does sound, if you don't know me,
No, if I don't know you,
how it does sound like I could be selling photographs.
Oh.
And that could not be further from the case.
Okay. You're not selling photographs. She's not selling photographs.
I chose to do it on Patreon.
You selling photographs!
Followed the Letitia Stout case closely. And it was actually during the trial that I made the official records request. And it was in El Paso County, Colorado.
Okay.
I requested all the video, audio, and written records.
Okay.
I made no request for autopsy photos.
You do realize once you file submission for information, you're going to get all that information. And you see how you just caught yourself when you said you didn't request that, but you got it anyway, and yet you still decided to put it behind a paywall. You see how you just walked yourself into a wall? Just that easy.
I chose to put the video on Patreon because of the sensitive nature of the evidence.
You chose to put it behind a paywall because you wanted some money and you wanted to have scientific discussions about it that no one else could possibly have because you are somebody who is understanding of the scientific nature of the world today.
Cannot imagine the pain Gannon's family has gone through.
I can, because the dad said it about you. And we combine those two and we mix it in with a pregnancy from last year that went completely wrong to the point where they themselves in various articles and in press conferences refer to it as a baby being decapitated, where they have to prop the baby up as if the baby's alive in the hospital to distract from the fact that that child's dead, and they're trying to convince the parents that the child is alive.
Brokenhearted and taking serious action after their baby boy died during an hours-long delivery in a Georgia hospital. A Clayton County couple claims doctors failed to tell them that their baby's head became detached from his body during an emergency C-section. Atlanta News First reporter Patrick Quinn spoke with the family's attorneys who say doctors tried to cover up what happened.
After Jessica Ross's water broke last month, the Clayton County couple, they rushed here with hopes of having their first child. The details of what happened next, they're extremely disturbing. The family now filing a lawsuit on behalf of their late son, whose body they say was detached from his head during birth.
This is one of the most sad, egregious, and horrific situations that I've ever seen.
The attorneys of Jessica Ross and Travion Taylor laying out heartbreaking allegations stemming from what they call a botched childbirth.
When the womb was open, the feet came out, the body came out, and there was no head.
In the lawsuit, the couple's attorneys claim the baby's head was detached from its body after a failed vaginal delivery. They're alleging gross negligence during the birth and fraud in an alleged attempt to cover up the details of the boy's death, claiming staff also discouraged them from getting an autopsy.
They did everything in their power to try to not let the family know what actually happened on that date.
The attorneys say Jessica and Trayvion's story reflects a bigger problem with how Black women are cared for during childbirth. We looked into the numbers here in Georgia. Infant deaths are more than twice as likely for Black infants compared to white infants. We reached out to the OBGYN group and the hospital. A spokesperson of Southern Regional Medical Center denied the allegations and said due to privacy laws, they cannot comment on their care or treatment in this childbirth, and added, quote, "Our commitment is to provide compassionate, quality care to every single patient, and this loss is heartbreaking." Attorneys said they're seeking compensation and punitive damages, adding this tragedy and subsequent sorrow could have been prevented.
My clients asked for a C-section much sooner than it was ever delivered, while the baby was viable.
You have a grieving family who's had to deal with, I believe, a still ongoing lawsuit with that hospital and having to deal with bearing a child. It's a situation not a lot of people want to be in. And when you're doing that, you have to get an autopsy, you have to figure out how the child could have died in all these different scenarios, and you have to prep them for a funeral. Again, something a lot of us don't want to have to deal with. And you're going through that process, you're trying to navigate how you're going to deal with the hospital in the court, and all of a sudden you take a break and you get on social media and you see your dead child's body on Instagram, and you're wondering to yourself, how in the hell and why in the hell is my child's dead body on Instagram? It's because the pathologist you went to have an autopsy done is broadcasting your child's dead body on social media. And of course, you're disturbed and you're pissed and you're gonna wanna sue. And it's going to get you, in case anyone was ever wondering, how much money you might be able to get from suing somebody from posting your dead child's body online, up to $2 million. A Georgia couple whose baby was decapitated during childbirth was awarded $2.25 million in a verdict after their pathologist posted graphic autopsy videos on social media without their consent. That's the key word here. Dr. Jackson Gates, terrible name, and his Atlanta-based business will have to fork over a large sum to Jessica Ross and Trayvion Taylor Sr., great names, after a Fulton County jury found him liable of emotional distress, invasion of privacy, and fraud on Wednesday. This young couple trusted him with the remains of their precious baby, the attorney for the grieving parents said, noting that the doctor poured salt into the couple's already deep wounds. Gates, in turn, repaid this trust by posting horrific images of their child for the world to see. The heartbroken couple hired the twisted doctor to perform an autopsy on their deceased newborn 2 days after their obstetrician, I'm not a hospital expert, I don't know these words, allegedly applied excessive force to the baby's neck when its shoulders became stuck to Ross's pelvic area, causing it to detach during the traumatic July 2023 delivery. The baby's head was delivered vaginally, but the rest of the body was removed via a C-section. The death was later ruled a homicide. Gates posted numerous videos and photos to his Instagram later that month showing the grisly post-mortem examination of their infant's decapitated, severed head. The deranged pathologist initially removed the footage after receiving a letter from the couple's attorney, but later reposted them according to the lawsuit. Now, I am someone who has never, and I'm gonna knock on wood aggressively when I say, and I hope to never, want to deal with the legal system. Because as someone who had to pay a $300 speeding ticket, being in the legal system is not really something that's good for my anxiety. And if I were to come into a scenario where I post something and it leads to someone sending like that big corporate law email saying to remove it, I'm not fighting that shit. I'm just gonna remove it and I'm gonna be about my merry fucking way. Because I ain't got no money to sue and I can't afford to get sued. So you can have that and I'll just go about my merry life happily without even having to consider a lawyer. This motherfucker for some reason was like, you know what? You sent me this letter and I feel like you mean what you say, but I really like the contents of what I'm seeing here, and I'm certain I could have some informative conversation about a decapitated child and their body, because that will spark great conversation without anyone under the sun thinking about HIPAA, because yes, pathologists are in that category of having to understand the rules of HIPAA. And I'm almost fuck certain if you got an Instagram of people's dead bodies, you would want to make sure that you got the approval of the deceased family so that they can also be in tune to what's being said here. But fuck it. Those Instagram likes meant something to him. Gates' attorney, Ira Levant, said his client typically documents his autopsies on social media to educate fellow pathologists and highlight the importance of independent examinations in cases where families suspect medical misconduct. Dr. Gates testified that he is deeply sorry for any harm that he unintentionally caused the plaintiffs. Had he had known for 1 second that they would see that and that they would know it was their child, he would have never have done it. I don't necessarily believe that, because if you're sending a letter to somebody to tell them to stop or remove something, at that moment, you can have it click in your head that, whoa, this is not something they're okay with. Let me just go ahead and delete this. And maybe, just because you may have a good heart, you post an apology for doing something without a family's approval, especially when it's only mere weeks, months, days after their child's dead and they come to you and you do this. Yeah, I have a heart and I can recognize that I'm wrong in this scenario. My bad. I'm so sorry. Next time I'm going to go about it completely by the books when asking for permission to do this. Studies be damned. Introspective conversation for future pathologists be damned, because it's more important to have respect for the deceased and the deceased families. Isn't that just so simple? And I'm not even a fucking doctor. This motherfucker looked at that, saw it, deleted it, and then posted it again. So he was aware of how someone could be very upset about this and still posted it again anyway. Why? Because that conversation means so much. Those Instagram likes mean so much. That gratification of being someone who has this information ready to teach the young minds, it means so much to him. No, you fucking moron. His family, I believe, is still going through the process of trying to figure out how in the fuck they got in this scenario. I want the entirety of that hospital where this happened shut down, because how in the fuck do I live in a Disney Channel episode? Not Disney Channel. This is more like Nick at Night style, where doctors are propping up a dead kid's head, making it seem like they're still alive behind like some plexiglass, convincing parents that their baby is healthy. That is fucking deranged, and I want that hospital shut down. And for somebody to look at a grieving family and see them struggling, and they trust you with their child's body, and you broadcast this shit on social media, it's impossible. Y'all are making it more difficult than it already is to garner trust for people in certain fields. When you're going to get an autopsy, you're going with the belief that the body is being trusted to somebody who's doing their job respectfully and credibly. But fuck, does social media mean a lot more than people realize over these past few years? Because I would like to sit here and believe that, yeah, we could have introspective conversations and understand how a child's decaying body forms in this way and in that way and in this way. No, a child's dead. And maybe I'm just the young up-and-coming adult in the world. I'm 25 years old, soon to be 26. But if I were in this position, I'm asking these families if I can do this before I even think to make an Instagram account where I'm showing people's dead bodies and sticking a ruler at this section of it and saying, this is where the stress came in. Because I feel like that's just a little bit of that common sense in me to make sure that as I'm doing this, I'm not disrespecting a family, and more importantly, so that I don't have to end up paying $2 million to some motherfuckers, because I'll be damned if I got that money for legal fees. If I get $2 million, I'm headed to the strip club like a true American man. But that's it. I hope that family at some point is able to fully heal. In the moment, they couldn't. In a year, they probably still are not healed. But I hope they, over the course of time, heal from this. And I hope these motherfuckers who did this never are trusted with another dead body again. Because if you're willing to post their bodies on social media without consent, what else could you maybe be doing without their consent? But that's just old Leon being a cantankerous piece of shit, as he always is. Which is a reason why you should subscribe and let me know what you think about posting dead bodies on social media for people to see, or behind a paywall. Is it deranged? Would you do it? Are you worth $2 million? Are you willing to risk it for $2 million? I would hope not, and I would hope everybody uses their brains. All right, mwah, goodbye.